Jake Oettinger pitches a 32-save shutout as the Dallas Stars take down the Minnesota Wild to close out their homestand. And more importantly, a potential sign of positive things to come.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Death, taxes, and the Dallas Stars picking up at least a point against the Minnesota Wild. Tonight, Jake Oettinger, 32 saves in a shutout on his bobblehead night at the American Airlines Center as the Stars take down the Wild by a final score of 3-0. We'll break it all down on today's episode of Locked On Stars. Plenty to jump into, including a couple of collegiate signings that the Stars added yesterday. So much to get to on a Tuesday edition of Locked On Stars, brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Shout out to all you everydayers out there that join me every single day. It's been an absolute blast and a much needed ending to a 4-game homestand for the Stars, who go 3-0-1 in the 4-game stretch, and they cap it off with this shutout over the Wild. They needed a little bit of everything in this one, which was a good sign to see. The first period was an absolute snooze fest. Both teams just could not figure out how to handle the puck. Gustafsson and Oettinger were great, but other than that, there just wasn't a whole lot to take out of that first 20 minutes. But as the game wore along, Dallas started to look more like themselves, especially in that final 12 minutes of the second period. They started to get to their game. They got on the power play, a beautiful little deflection by Wyatt Johnston, set up by the shot of Thomas Harley. It comes off a quick face-off win, and the Stars have been more direct on their power play, which has given them a lot more success. Harley just looks for the high tip in the slot. Rope hints is set up, screening the netminder. That's how the Stars got both of their goals against Gustafsson, is through screens. And then Johnston with the little deflection. He's been so good on the power play this season. It's his 10th power play goal of the year. He now has 26 on the season, and the Stars started to find their legs. They started taking care of the puck in their own zone. More specifically, they were able to get the puck out and get in on the forecheck. I thought they had a much better approach and mindset to this game, taking on a Minnesota team that's dealing with a lot of injuries, just to throw pucks in to the offensive zone and go get them. Allow your work and determination to create some offense instead of always relying on, 3 or 4 passes out of your own zone with possession and trying to get some looks off the rush, because they've struggled to do that. And they had some stretches in the game where they just made some soft plays out of their own zone. Fortunately, Jake Oettinger was sharp. He was brilliant, and we'll get to him in just a moment. But I thought Dallas sort of had a little bit of everything in this game. They go 1 for 4 on the power play. It's more like 1 for 3 since they got one with 5 seconds to go. I thought their second power play of the second period actually looked better than the one they scored on. They were snapping around. They hit like 3 or 4 posts. Marchment hit one. He got an empty netter, which was nice. Rantanen hit one. I think Robertson hit one. They were chipping paint all night against Gustafsson, but the PK was great. They go 4 for 4, sort of how we've seen a lot of these games against Minnesota go in the past. Special teams, Stars get the edge. They get the better goaltending. Even though Gustafsson I thought was great, and I thought, man, we may be in for a long night. And Dallas just seemed to get more comfortable and start to find a rhythm as the game wore along. We did see Rantanen and Marchment get flipped for a bit. So Marchment was playing up with Robo and Rope, which was interesting, and they had Rantanen alongside Duchesne and Granlund for a bit. So they were trying some things out, and I thought Rantanen played one of his better games, if not his best, for the Stars. He had some glorious scoring opportunities. And of course, he hit the post, as I mentioned. He had one where he carried the puck in. I believe it was in the first period. He came sort of carving in, worked his way to the middle, and let a wrist shot go. And Gustafsson was equal to it with the pad. It could have been the second period. I believe it was the second, actually, now that I think about it, because he took the puck in the face. My goodness, that happened again. And I about threw my remote at the TV thinking, here's another month-long injury. So thankful he was able to come back. He has the Marchment sort of undercarriage now. So I think all the Stars should be wearing this at this point. I don't know how Dallas can get any more unlucky with puck luck, but he came back and he looked fine. Again, thought he had a really strong game. The fourth line, again, we've been highlighting them a lot, but so effective. They have just been so effective. And again, they were great tonight. I mean, look at some of the numbers. Steele, his Corsi 4 percentage, 68%. Blackwell, 62%. Oscar Beck, 61%. They just spend time in the offensive zone, and that's what you need out of that line. And the Stars got some production from their big boys too, right? Their top six. Duchesne gets on the board. Nifty little play from Granlund and Ben to win the puck, and it finds Duchesne in that right circle, and Ben sets up the screen, again taking the eyes away from the netminder. Granlund feeds Dutchy and makes no mistake of it. Thought he looked excellent tonight. He's had a couple of really nice games here. He was my shooting star pick over the last stretch, and he had a strong night. Harley, again, I mean, what more can you say about him? He played over 24 minutes on the night. When he's on the ice, 18 shots for, 7 shots against. I think that pretty much explains it. His expected goals for 2.69, which was second highest. Robo had the highest on the night. And I've really liked his game. I feel like we haven't talked about him, or at least I haven't enough. Even during this slump, he's looked awesome. He has been engaged. He works hard on the forecheck. He chips the puck in and goes after and gets it. He's been great along the wall. And I think that needs to be highlighted, because maybe he's not scoring enough here during this little slump the Stars are in, but he's at least trying to make things happen. And I appreciate that out of a player like Robertson, who sometimes does not get love for his style of play, but I think he's been just fine in terms of his work ethic, at least trying to create some looks for his team. But Otter was phenomenal. I mean, expected goals against was 4.41. Minnesota had some great chances, especially in that third period where they started coming downhill a bit, and Dallas got a bit loose defensively, especially from about the 12-minute mark to 6. They were taking on water. The Wild ended up outshooting Dallas 11-9 in the third period. It wasn't terrible. Stars had a good start to the frame, but Minnesota started pressuring and pinching, activating their defense, and they had a pretty decent night. Ended up with 18 scoring chances at 5-on-5, 28 overall. Stars almost doubled them up. It's 41-28, not almost, but they had him out chanced by a pretty considerable margin, and they just had to kind of earn this victory, which I think is a good sign. And again, Minnesota right now is just a shell of themselves. They're not a team that's at full capacity, at full strength, but neither is Dallas. And it was good for them against a team too that has won 3 straight. It's not like they came in limping. They had won 3 in a row, but they're not who they are without Erickson and Kaprizov. We all know that. But it was good for Dallas to puff their chest up a bit. And I thought they were much more buttoned up even in their own zone, especially the first 2 periods. They felt more buttoned up. And even though Minnesota had some shifts where they had Dallas on their heels, they weren't able to get to the interior as much as we've seen other teams over the last week or so. And maybe it's just recency bias, but I felt like Minnesota wasn't able to just, throw everything and anything at Oettinger from inside, the slot. I thought Dallas did a good job clearing out in front of him. Who did that awesome? Liam Bichel. Thought he had a strong game. used his size brilliantly in that third period where he took on 2 defenders and he just runs through them, keeps possession of the puck, and then he starts the transition play, and Dallas ends up, I think, getting a shot off the rush because of it, just because of his great work 200 feet away from the Wild net. Just shrugs off a couple of defenders, keeps the puck on his stick. Thought he was strong tonight, cleared out in front of his own net brilliantly, just really physical stuff. And that's what you love to see out of your rookie defenseman. And, he got into some scrums, after the whistle. And that's what Dallas needs from him. He needs to be strong in front of his own net, clear it out, let Oettinger see anything. And for the most part, Oettinger saw a lot of the shots he faced tonight. Made a great one on that deflection by Boldy in the third period too. Had to fight it off with his shoulder, and it was a real needed bounce back win for Jake. I'll leave you with this segment with a fun little nugget here. The first GM in Stars history to reach the 500 win milestone. So GM Jim Nill has reached 500 career wins as the Dallas Stars general manager, which is awesome. So there you go. There's a little nugget, but all in all, just really, really strong stuff from Dallas. Oettinger had the highest game score rating via hockey stat cards. Duchesne was the next highest star, along with Thomas Harley, and thought they looked good. Rope too. Let's not gloss over the game he had a couple of big hits. He was physical in the game, which we don't see on an every night basis. And again, I thought it was sort of a pull up your bootstraps type of night for a lot of different Stars involved players, right? I thought it was a nice kind of hard-earned victory. And that's always a good thing. And hopefully they can keep that going into this little Western Canada / West Coast road trip to Seattle as well. But Jake Oettinger bounces back. He was the number one star on the night. Let's discuss his game, and some of his last few starts are starting to look better. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Look, everybody has a bracket that's already busted. You can't win. Might as well win with FanDuel by picking some of your favorite types of spreads, totals, and game props from the Sweet 16 on. FanDuel allows you to stay in the action with tournament games happening almost every day. It's easy, it's fast, it's simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. No waiting around. By the way, my bracket is actually pretty darn good. We have a locked-on little group. I'm 4th right now. I'm one of the highest Stars podcasts, I should say NHL podcasts, in the bracket group. So there you go. But FanDuel is also another way for you to get in on the action. Visit FanDuel.com. $200 in bonus bets for your first $5 bet if it wins. So visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. It's the perfect grab-and-go snack for busy days, whether you're snacking at your desk on a road trip. Just need a quick protein boost. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids and that satisfying crack of opening up each shell. It's like snack medication. Get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. So Jake Oettinger on his bobblehead night delivers a 32-save shutout against his hometown team in a 3-0 win for the Stars. And this felt like a start that was maybe on the horizon. He looked good against Philadelphia when Dallas took that one in overtime, only faced 24 shots, and he had a decent start against Anaheim to begin the homestand. He gave up 3, but stopped 22 of 25. Hasn't been great. Of course, we've documented how pretty awful he's been really until about the middle of this homestand, and he's looked better. And tonight he had a demeanor about him like I'm not gonna get beat tonight on soft, silly stuff, and that was a nice thing to see, and hopefully a sign of better things to come. Daryl Ray mentioned it's the best he's looked in about 2 weeks, and they needed him to be that way, and he needs to be like that more often, because the Stars are a tough team to beat when he is like this, and I think the Stars helped him out a lot more than they have over the last few of his starts. But again, like, teams are going to get looks, like they're going to get chances. And if he can give you nights like this more consistently, they're going to be a really, really, really tough team to beat. And again, you're not going to shut out every team, right? That's not going to happen. But if he can look as calm as he did, he didn't seem to get ahead of himself. I think sometimes he overslides, he commits too much. Thought he was good. He squared up some shots, made that nice save on Boldy late in the third. I felt like that one was going to go in. I could have sworn he got beaten through the 5-hole when Boldy pulled the trigger on that, but he closed that down. And against Philadelphia, I thought he had a couple big stops too in that third period. We saw that against Anaheim. He had that one on Lacombe in that third period to keep it tied at 3. So there's some hints. I think there's some signs that maybe he's starting to figure it out. And I'm sure he's spent a lot of time with the goaltending coach, Jeff Reese, to try to iron out some things, because again, when he's like this, a tough team to beat. And I know Minnesota didn't make his life too tough, but 32 saves, nothing to scoff at. And it was a strong night from him. And we saw some power play opportunities. It was a 4-on-3 chance late in that first for Minnesota. And they had some looks. I mean, Boldy had 7 shots himself. Zuccarello had 4 shots, and there were some good looks for them. I think they hit the post a couple of times too. So they need more of that Jake Oettinger. And when DeSmith is playing like he is, Dallas is going to be just fine. But it was nice that I think they helped him out in front a bit more. He saw a lot more. He saw a lot of shots, and I think that was the credit to guys like Cece, Bischel, I named, Labushkin, just clearing out guys in front. Thought it was one of the more stable nights in general from the Stars blue line, and maybe it's because it's a beaten up Minnesota team, but there were stretches in the game. I don't know if both teams knew what they were doing. I mean, it was sort of, I don't know, a whole lot of nothing from both sides. But Dallas showed they were the better team as they went along, and they ended up getting it done. So that was great to see. I think I mentioned the trio that got switched up wrong. It was Marchment, Hinson, Rantanen, and we saw Robo, Dutchy in Granlund for a bit. I think I had it flip-flop. So that was sort of the line combination we saw late, or really from the second period on, that they kind of switched up with. So again, they needed a little bit of everything. I think that's what this one boils down to. They get a power play goal, penalty kill goes perfect, goaltending was good, and their big boys pitch in a little bit offensively, and they get a win. And look, Dallas is still in this thing to try to make things interesting on Winnipeg. They're now within 6 points. They only have a game in hand. It's going to be tough with 12 games remaining. I mean, Winnipeg's going to have to really collapse, and Dallas would have to maybe win. I think they have one more game left against them, but they're really in decent control to win a home ice advantage. And those are the type of nights too. These are the type of games that make me feel like, okay, like I can see Dallas playing up to par with Colorado, and it's going to be tough. But I'm like, okay, yeah, if we get nights like this, like, they're going to be fine. It's just the last 2 weeks have not been a confidence booster to say the least. So they needed him to bounce back. And look, I think his last 3 starts now, if you include tonight, starting to see him get a little better. Overtime win against Anaheim, overtime win against Philly. Say what you want, still picks up a couple wins. He also adds to a win total that is pretty darn good. This comes from the NHL Public Relations. Oettinger passes Cesar Manago, I may just butcher that, for the 4th most wins by a goaltender in Dallas Stars / North Stars history. He trails Marty Turco, Kari Lehtonen, and Ed Belfour. Most shutouts active by U.S.-born goaltenders. Otter is up to 12 now in active U.S.-born goaltenders for shutouts too. So he's tied with Casey DeSmith actually. So just really strong stuff from him, and hopefully we see that more. Well, when he plays Minnesota, we usually get that out of him. I mean, of course, he has a lot more on the line personally against a team like Minnesota. Let's pretend all opponents have a wild sweater on Otter and give us more nights like this, and then we won't have as much controversy when debating you. Okay, Stars added some collegiate signings over the last 24 hours that I would love to get to as well. So we're going to do that, show you some guys that got added to some entry-level contracts as the collegiate season has come to a close. Not yet, a couple of weeks before the tournament closes, but some teams have come to a close. We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature called Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff, only shows you incredible deals on great seats. So you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You've heard me talk about it before. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee. You can book with total confidence. Game Time Picks even highlights super deals, giving you the best bang for your buck, and you can use it on basketball games. Not just that. Remember, concerts, comedy, theater, baseball, hockey, they have it all. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKED, ONNHL. That's LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. The Dallas Stars added a couple of collegiate players over the last 24 hours. It's actually happened on Monday. They ended up signing Aryton Martino to a 2-year entry-level contract that will begin in 25-26. Martino will report to the Texas Stars of the American Hockey League for the remainder of the year. He recently finished 4 years of a collegiate career with Clarkson and 39 games with the Golden Knights. He recorded 51 points and set an NCAA career high in both goals and points. He led his team in goals, assists, points, and power play goals, and he was tied for 4th in scoring among NCAA skaters. His efforts this season earned him ECAC Player of the Year honors. He's also a top 10 finalist for the Hobey Baker Award, which gets awarded to the top player in the NCAA, in case you did not know that. Hobey Baker, very prestigious award, and he probably won't win it, but it's nice to be a finalist. There's a lot of good players in the NCAA, but the fact that he's even nominated, I think says a lot. He was drafted by the Stars, by the way, 3rd overall in 2021, so do remember that. He was drafted 73rd overall in 2021. He had a stop in the USHL, and he also played in the OJHL. He's a Toronto native. So they end up inking a deal with Martino, and they also added defenseman, a teammate of his, Trey Taylor, to a 2-year entry-level contract. He actually was the ECAC Best Defenseman, Defensive Defenseman honor of the world of the league. Excuse me. I always like conference awards in college hockey because they actually do differentiate defensive and offensive defensemen. I've always liked that. Because I think the NHL needs to do that eventually, because it's getting absurd. The Norris really isn't the best defenseman in the world, if you ask me. Sometimes, okay, look, don't come after me, but y'all know what I mean here. But he will report to the Texas Stars as well. He had 29 points in 39 games. He was the team's captain, more of a defensive defenseman, as you would expect. Set career highs in goals, assists, and power play goals. And of course, he earned the reward for the second consecutive season. He played 3 seasons. He had 55 points in 110 games. So, really, pretty big guy too. He's got some size. He also played in the USHL. He's actually a BC native. So we'll see how they fit in down in Texas. But look, Dallas is going to have to make some hay with some of these collegiate signings. Like these can be some important deals because Dallas doesn't have a lot of picks. So as a collegiate season winds down, this is an opportunity for Dallas to go find players that were not drafted. Maybe maybe their contract expired or the rights expired, and you can go out and find some of these guys that are a bit older, but maybe are ready to play now, and can really boost your roster. And with Dallas, giving up a lot of picks too for Rantanen and whatnot, this is a way for them to sort of replenish the talent pool or their prospect pool a bit. Taylor was 6'2", 190, so not gigantic, but some decent size. So there you go. Those are a couple of the signings the Stars made that were announced on Monday, and we'll keep an eye. Maybe they can make some more in the next few weeks when eventually the NCAA tournament comes to a close about middle of April. Love me some college hockey. Wish I could watch more. Unfortunately, with the team I work for, we play the same nights as college hockey, so I get to watch a lot. For those of you that don't know, I went to St. Cloud State, so I'm a big Husky. They suck this year, unfortunately. Had a lot of injuries, but they've been perennial, pretty top 15, top 10 program in the nation over the last decade or so. So hopefully they get back to that. They had some really key injuries and they kind of sunk the ship this year. So hopefully they're up next year, but enough of that. But again, like I said, these are chances for the Stars to kind of replenish some of their prospect pool. And David Castillo, by the way, who's a great follow for all you Stars fans. He loves Martino, does a lot of previews or breakdowns on these type of players that Dallas is looking at. So please, and he watches a ton of hockey. I give him credit. Like he watches these guys and does breakdowns on them. So please give him a follow too. I think he's on Spits and Suds every once in a while. Of course, they're good buddy. Gavin Spittle, my old boss. So show them some love too, because they do a great work on highlighting these players. I'm in watching them too. So I feel like I should give a shout out to them. But there you go. That'll do it for a Tuesday edition of Locked On Stars. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, never miss an episode. Shout out to you everydayers out there. Stars with a good win here tonight, close out their homestand. I'm really keen on possibly doing this tomorrow. For those of you that did not see, maybe this is a bit of a tease. But oh my goodness. Sorry, before we get to that, Rantanen has quite the shiner on his cheek. There's a picture of it on Twitter from his post-game press conference. It is a pretty long, I mean, it's maybe baseball size, maybe softball size on his left cheek. Yeah, that's gonna hurt for a bit. But what I wanted to say, there was some news that came out on Monday about how the Dallas Stars, not the Stars specifically, I mean, they're kind of, but there was 3 executives in the Stars organization, and this really has to do with the Stars executives that work for the Star Centers and basically youth hockey in Dallas, because Dallas handles all of it now. Wasn't always that way when I grew up. Not all the rinks were owned by them. Most of them were, and now they are. But it came out about how there was 3 executives that no longer work for Dallas, but they use their positions to promote youth hockey nonprofit organizations to profit off of these tournaments and family, which is really interesting. And maybe I need to wait a few more days before some stuff comes out. I don't want to just get ahead of it too much, but there's some interesting stuff, and I do have some stuff to say on it just because I grew up playing hockey in Dallas, my entire childhood. So I have some words on it, to say the least. So I encourage you to read it. It's on USA Today. Go familiarize yourself with it. I really would. If not, I can maybe do a breakdown on it in the next few days because I'm curious and I have some opinions. So anyways, maybe that's a tease for tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, Stars fans. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you tomorrow. So long.